It's time for the 1480 Club. Here's John Lewis and Brian O'Neill.
Yes, good morning on this Tuesday, March 8th, 2016. I actually do have one birthday today that we know about here, and it's a friend of mine. He's from Hornell, but no longer lives in the area, but will hopefully be listening on WLEA.net. Happy birthday to James Edward Valentine Jr. Happy birthday, Jim, who is actually he and his wife are expecting a beautiful baby girl shortly, so congrats there. Brian, how are you today?
Doing well, and yourself, John?
Good. You look great through the glass. Brian and I sit in separate rooms, so we're looking through the glass at each other, through the looking glass.
Yes, and at some point this may even be webcammed.
Yeah, that is true. Boy, you're blowing the surprise, but I have some webcams that we had here at the station. We're setting them up now, but that's hopefully going to be soon, but we're testing them today. So you'll see how we look, which means we should probably tighten up our ties.
We got to get into Hannity Limbaugh mode for the dress code for the webcam.
Yes, for the 8 a.m. show, our ties are a little bit loose, but we can cinch them up once we're on camera.
I hear you.
Well, Brian, I really enjoyed your newsmaker yesterday that followed this show, where you spoke with Mayor Hogan talking about the new hospital that we'll be building here in the Hornell area, in North Hornell, coming up in probably the next year. We didn't have any timelines from the mayor, but we certainly know there's the money for it. So that was great.
You know, one thing that I came away with was his answer, and I didn't focus on it afterwards in the newscast. In the newscast, I took other pieces from it. But I think one of the big things is what becomes of the hospital facility over on the Canisteo Street area, and basically what Mayor Sean Hogan said was that'll be up to the owners, Trinity Health.
I think that falls upon Trinity Health, who owns the property, working with the city to find a use for those facilities. And if we don't find a use, I think Trinity has an obligation, as Guthrie did in Corning, to remove the structures and make the property available for housing or whatever.
So our thanks to Hornell Mayor Sean Hogan for stopping by first thing back from his vacation and coming into the Newsmaker studio to talk about the hospital situation, which is nice because it's good news.
Yes, great news, and that's great for the mayor just to keep us engaged, too. We love that, to be part of it, and that helps our whole community, to stay engaged and involved.
We had quite the story yesterday afternoon, John.
And this was a news story that you talked about yesterday briefly.
Okay, Sheriff Dave Cole in the Steuben County Legislature, they sent out a press release on Monday afternoon about how Steuben County deputies Todd Terwilliger and Brooke Payne, deputies Payne and Terwilliger, saved the life of a 20-year-old male who had overdosed on a combination of drugs and alcohol, both street drugs and prescription drugs, and apparently some alcohol, too.
Alcohol, marijuana, Xanax, roxycodone, and oxycodone. You hate to see that. It's a list there. Sheriff
Cole says the guy definitely would have died had there not been medical attention from the two Steuben County deputies who did some work, CPR and defibrillator work. And apparently the dog in the house bit the female deputy in the head.
It's a Siberian Husky. It bit Deputy Payne in the top of her head and her scalp.
Ouch.
Bad situation. Scary
situation. No doubt about it. And the sheriff said that the overdose victim survived, and what an incident. So he commended both deputies on Monday morning at the Steuben County offices.
Going back more towards national and really international news, Nancy Reagan, former First Lady, who I told Brian she was my first Lady. I was born in 1980, so I started with the Reagans. And I remember being a young child, and the Just Say No campaign was probably for my generation. I mean, it really was, but I was a little young. I was 5, 6, 7 years old around that time. Here's Arnold Schwarzenegger's take on Nancy Reagan.
She was one of the greatest first ladies, an extraordinary human being.
And Brian, while everyone's speaking about the love between Ronald Reagan and Nancy this week, Bill Clinton yesterday commenting on his proposal to Hillary.
I just blurted out, I said, I want you to marry me, but you really shouldn't do it. And she said, that's not a very good way to make a sale. She said, what are you talking about? I said, I've been all over this country. I've met everybody in our generation that's working on these issues. You were the best. You were the best I ever saw at getting people to actually do something.
Bill there talking about Hillary. Hillary, former First Lady running for president, going back to Nancy Reagan before Hillary. Nancy's big campaign, of course, the Say No to Drugs campaign. I even remember it then and remember it well, and being taught that in school. So that's something I've carried with me, just knowing that in my life. And I know Nancy Reagan did a lot of great things. But
Yeah, the Just Say No campaign.
What should you do when someone offers you drugs?
A big thing with former First Lady Nancy Reagan. By the way, on the topic of saying no to drugs, Senator O'Mara and Assemblyman Giglio on upcoming Newsmaker shows this morning. Senator O'Mara right after the 8:30 news, after we finish up with the 1480 Club, and Assemblyman Joe Giglio tomorrow. They'll both be talking about the heroin and meth problems in the southern tier in western New York. There was a lot of big news stories yesterday. In fact, in the national news, we cut in around 12:30 for a big story about a major NFL retirement.
the retirement of football great Peyton Manning yesterday, number 18, playing for 18 years.
There's just something about 18 years. 18 is a good number. And today I retire from pro football.
Well, we will be sad to see Peyton Manning end his football career. I know he might have some controversies off the field right now to deal with, but certainly on the field he was a great player, and I enjoyed watching him play against one. I'm a Bills fan, so the rival team for me would be the New England Patriots, and Peyton did a pretty good job playing against them for sure.
I think in his goodbye speech yesterday, Manning mentioned Tom Brady.
He did. He mentioned Brady's coach Belichick, and the New England fans, actually, which was kind of neat. So as we move from Peyton Manning, we'll go a little bit back towards politics, Brian. And someone who was in the news this week, Arnold Schwarzenegger, who in the past had said he would love to be president, but obviously from Austria cannot be because he's not an American-born citizen. So yesterday, Schwarzenegger came out in support of John Kasich. So that's who he's choosing for presidential run this year, who right now is kind of coming in at number 4, even on the Republican side.
Now, I once said in a local newscast that Mike Bloomberg was a Democrat, and you would think that he was because he was a big liberal Republican, so I just assumed that he was a liberal Democrat, but he's not. He's a liberal Republican, Mike Bloomberg.
Yeah, so Michael Bloomberg, Mayor Bloomberg, announcing he will not make a run at the presidency. So in a way, that's a little bit of a non-news story because there is no news story when you're not running for president. But up next, we have live weather with Rob Carolyn.
The 1480 Club on WLEA.